Welcome to the EchoCast, episode 130. This is a podcast about the Division, its community, news, speculation, and updates. I am Bon Diesel. I do Division stuff, such as this podcast, Twitch streams, and YouTube videos. Please take a moment to subscribe and to rate the podcast on whatever platform you listen to it on, if possible. This episode is going to talk about the state of the game recap from today, Immortals, Fenyx Rising, and a review from me, some Division 3 speculation, and I'm going to talk about getting COVID. There might be some more as well. I'm going to be straight up. This is going to be a fast and loose episode. I didn't feel like typing up the script, so we're just going to wing it. Thank you to this month's Patreon supporters, Hassan, Christian, Darren, Tim, PK, Dale, and Ron. There will be no more ads on the show, at least for the time being. So if you want to support the show via Patreon, I would very much appreciate it. And I am more than happy to take advice, requests, whatever on Patreon to make that experience better and more worth investing in. If you would like to support me on Patreon, check out patreon.com/bondiesel. Okay, we'll jump right into the state of the game recap. So we started off a bit slow and then it picked up quite a bit with some priority alerts. It was mostly just thanking the community for PTS feedback. They did talk a bit about TU12 changes from the PTS, a ton of gun, stat, and talent changes. I'm just going to tell you that you need to go watch the show if you care about each and every detail. I do not feel like just repeating what they said verbatim. They also discussed some of the optimization station changes as well, and kind of explained some stuff around that. So yesterday we did see in an article posted on the official Division channels that TU12 will be dropping on December 8th next week. We also confirmed today that the season 4 will begin that day as well. So the first target of what we assume is the final season, Manhunt, will begin on December 8th. The first target is Viper. We found out there will be the targets' names will be Viper, Kestrel, Magnus, and Circe. I believe Circe is the one that actually turned Fei Lao during the Warlords of New York story. And Kestrel, they said we know who that is, and that it's Sokolov, who's associated with Black Tusk. So we'll have to see. And of course, we know that the final target is Fei Lao. So they talked a bit about season 4 and actually had kind of a bit of bummer news, and explained that just due to COVID and just development conditions and stuff, that the Codename Nightmare event has actually been canceled. The actual event, they did say that there was already a Apparel event planned for season 4. And I'll talk about that in a moment. So what they're going to do is, it looks like a bunch of Apparel was associated with this Nightmare event. So they're going to do a second Apparel event during season 4. So that kind of makes up for it, I guess. They didn't show us any of that Apparel, but they did show us some of the already scheduled event, which I'll get to in a moment. One bit of cool news, they did drop that TU 12.1, which will come on February 2nd, I believe, will include a next-gen update for PS5, Xbox Series X and S. For the PS5 and Series X, it's going to be 4K 60 FPS, which is great. No other significant changes, though. And for the Series S, I'm going to guess it's either 1080 or 1440p or variable frame rate at 60 FPS, which is still fine, especially if you don't have a 4K monitor or TV to play the game on. So I don't really know if I feel like that it like balances off, because so here's the thing: by February 2nd, that's going to be a week before the final target and then the fail out confrontation. So for a lot of people, that final that final uh, patch, to give us the 4K 60 FPS on the new consoles is going to come a week or 2 weeks before a lot of people are probably done playing Division, until a new one comes out or whatever's next. So it's better late than never, in my opinion, but it is kind of a bummer that it's going to take that long, because it's just going to be a little bit wasted effort, but I suspect that it's not the most intense thing in the world for them to do. Like I said, the season 4 will include a manhunt for Fei Lao. I have talked in previous episodes about how I think that's going to play out, according to some leaks that came out way back in TU9 from that PTS, and how those leaks have been pretty much dead on accurate, with a few bits of information missing, either purposefully or not. I am really bummed about the Nightmare event, because that was like the one thing left that we didn't know anything about. So it would be cool if maybe eventually they said, hey, we are really sorry that didn't happen, but here's what it was going to be, if you're curious, because I would like to know. I think it would be interesting to know what they were planning. If I had to guess, I'm just thinking that it just isn't worth it. Like, I just suspect the resources are better somewhere else right now. So whether they're working on Division 3 or whether they're putting stuff in Avatar, or whatever they're doing at Massive, I have a feeling someone looked at what they were going to do for Nightmare, especially after a lot of the kickback on the summit, when people weren't really happy with that. And I kind of understand that, but as unhappy as people were about the summit, I still am willing to bet that the summit probably took a lot of man hours and a lot of resources. And it's been mostly like either neutrally or even negatively taken from people. So I suspect they are, for lack of a better term, just cutting and running to a point. So that's a bummer. I really wish that we could have at least found out what it was going to be, but hopefully the apparel that comes from it is still kind of cool. Let's see. I will say that they showed some art for season 4. I will say the tagline for season 4 is called End of Watch, and it has the portrait of Fei Lao. That's badass. Yeah, that is super cool. So I'm really excited. If you don't know, at least here in the United States, End of Watch in the United States is when like a police officer has like their final, either when they pass away, that's their end of watch, or when they retire, they do an end of watch call out where they get on the radio and they sign off for the last time of sign off duty. It's called your end of watch. It's all, like I said, it's also referred to when an officer dies in the line of duty. They it's considered their end of watch as well. So very ominous. I won't get into the leaks in this episode. Maybe here in a couple weeks, we'll talk about my updated feelings about how I think, what I think season 4 means and what may be coming after that. But for now, I'll leave it be. One bit of cool information they did drop is that there is a new global event in season 4 that's kind of has like a golden bullet mechanic, where one enemy in each group will have this like charged up ability where if they hit you with it, and it's obvious that they're charging, like it's going to be clear on the UI. I believe it's a one-shot kill is what they said, but if you kill that enemy, then you get a few seconds of the same of basically just putting out insane DPS. And each time you kill an enemy, if you kill them quick enough, it resets that timer. So you could kill the golden bullet enemy and then wipe out the rest of his squad using that buff. So honestly, it sounds kind of cool. It's getting back to what I said before about the global events, that the original set of global events just felt way too punishing and not nearly like empowering enough. And it seems like the updated events and this new event are all really going for that like player power fantasy, which is a very good thing. They did point out a few other things as well. So there will be a winter event starting when TU12 drops, where when you log in, if you didn't get the Santa hat the last time, you will now get it when you log in after November 8th, or 9th, whatever it is, or December. You can also get a leveled up level 40 Slayer Tommy gun that shoots snowballs if you find the Ambusher Loot Goblin NPC, which will have a Santa hat on for the time being. And then you can also get a new hunter mask that has like a Santa design on the front of it. It looks like it was like drawn on with like Sharpies. It actually looks pretty good compared to some of the goofy hunter masks that we've gotten. So they said that it was from killing a hunter, but didn't say it's a new hunter. So for someone like me, the only way I can kill a hunter at this point in the game is to reach level 100 and summit, or to replay the Barden mission. So I'm not really sure what they meant. Or I'm wondering if maybe season 4 is going to include, like, I mean, we killed the hunter in the final mission of season 3. So I'm not expecting to see hunters popping up in the manhunt in season 4. I don't know. I'm sure someone will figure out very quickly what it means. The final big thing they showed us was the originally planned apparel event begins on December 22nd, and it's called the Outguard apparel event. It's got 4 sets of gear: Grizzly, Coyote, Hawk, and Mongoose. It's almost poetic that that these are coming as the game ends, because it's easily the best looking apparel that they've put out in the game. It's hyper tactical. It's literally like the kind of stuff that I think most people have been wanting since the game released. So I guess it's a better late than never thing. The Hawk one in particular looks like super dope, in my opinion. So if they're working on something beyond Division 2 right now, I really hope they take this aesthetic and run with it. And we'll see. So they did point out that season 3 will end obviously the on the 7th of next week, as TU12 and the 4th Manhunt come out. And they did talk a bit that in the next season, the Guardian event that is currently going on as well, they talked about some changes to that. And that was about it. So obviously the Nightmare news is a huge bummer, at least in my opinion. I was really excited about one last like hurrah. I was really excited to potentially see Kinley College get revamped in some capacity. Because even though I agree for the most part with people that mode is just kind of not worth my time, that bums me out, because the actual environment of Kinley College is really good. If you haven't been there in a while, I know I haven't been. I've actually thought about, just making myself go back and playing through it again, because the environment's amazing. The different school buildings in that subway area are all like really, really good. They're very pretty and well designed and fun to play in. It's just the actual activity isn't all that fun. I was really hoping that the Nightmare event was going to be some type of replayable hunter encounter or something like that, where you were going back to Kinley to recover something, and you were going to be getting stalked by hunters or something like that, or even rogue agents or something. And that basically we're going to be able to fight some much cooler enemies in that really cool environment. But oh well, I guess we'll just have to deal with it. But I am really excited about the next gen stuff. I've seen some people say that the 60 FPS cap being raised for the next gen systems isn't enough. I mean, that's all I really wanted. I'm not really sure what people want from the game other than that. The graphics are already scaled really well, and I've been playing Division 2 on my Series X for a couple weeks now, and it's great. It looks awesome. It looks really, really good. And that 60 FPS, the smoother animations and stuff like that is really, in my opinion, the only thing that was missing. So yeah, so we have that. Okay, so in some gaming news, I was just going to quickly kind of talk about, I did get early access to a game that Ubisoft put out called Immortals Fenyx Rising. This is a game that was known a while back as Gods and Monsters, and then kind of inexplicably changed their name to the significantly worse Immortals Fenyx Rising, at least in my opinion. It uh, it's caught a lot of comparisons to like Breath of the Wild and things like that. A lot of because of its visuals. What I'll just come out and say is this has been like one of my favorite gaming experiences of 2020. It's basically the biggest thing that you're gonna find is that it is like Breath of the Wild ish, but not exactly the same. The biggest thing I'm finding is that when I'm looking at reviews, and I reviewed it myself on my YouTube if you want to check it out, is that if you appreciate the really campy, kind of cringy humor, it's fourth wall breaking, it's self aware, it's goofy. If you can appreciate the humor in the first 10 minutes of it, you'll probably really like the game. If it annoys you or grates on you, you're probably not going to like the game, which is a bummer because whether you like the comedy or not, the way the open world works, it's not level gated. You can really probably beat the whole game without upgrading anything through the whole game, other than the upgrades it like forces on you. But you could really probably just blow through the game, and if you understand the fighting mechanic, you could probably play through the whole game fine. Because the fighting, in my opinion, is the best part of the game. The environment's also very pretty. The characters look a little weird, but I think they're supposed to be cartoony, so I just accepted it and I went with it. But the combat is just so tight and so fun, and so just every encounter just feels satisfying. I just played Assassin's Creed Odyssey recently, and I just stopped playing it. I just don't enjoy it. I don't like it, to be totally honest. I don't like the way it feels. It's very button mashy and stuff. Where Immortals is very precise with the controls, and the way that you can control your style of combat and the way that you want to fight, whether you want to be like parry intensive or dodge intensive or both. If you want to focus on heavy hits or light hits or even using your bow. It has gear that you can collect that isn't like super impactful, but it can help a little bit. It's really cool. It's a really, really cool game. It's got like a fun, cute little story going on. It's got a ton of puzzle elements, but they aren't really that hard. Like the game does a really good job of showing you how to solve the puzzles and then letting you do it with like some like moderate challenge to it. It's just a really great game. And so my overall, I absolutely recommend it. I really, really liked it. It's fun. It's just a fun game. And that's what I think a lot of people need right now. And that's coming from someone who doesn't really like these type of games typically. I don't like The Witcher. I have gotten tired of the Assassin's Creed game. So like this game should be tired for me. It's the Ubisoft open world thing with swords. I like guns, but it just really caught on and I keep playing it. So the one thing I will say is that it's $60. It's on every platform. Because it's an Ubisoft game and because it's not really being portrayed as one of their like AAA titles even, you could probably wait a few weeks or a month or two and see if it drops in price to 30 or $40 and just save some money. I think it's worth $60 for sure. Maybe you don't, and that's fine. I did get my copy for free for full, I did get it early and I got it for free for full disclosure there. But I think it's worth it. I think it's a really great game. I've really enjoyed it. And I think even if you're looking forward to Cyberpunk or you're playing Assassin's Creed or you're still No Life in Division or whatever, it's a good break game. You can play it for an hour and then you can go back to doing something else. It's just like it's awesome. It's a cool game. I really like it. And I think if you have any interest in it, I would highly suggest checking it out. As for just any general gaming topics or anything, I didn't really have much else. With Division 2 topic wise, there hasn't been a ton of information coming out. I'm honestly kind of tired of covering, people making things up and so on and so forth. We'll get back to that eventually. When it comes to any Division 3 speculation stuff, there have been some devs who have kind of been popping back up lately. I've noticed 2 or 3 in particular that either suspended their Twitter accounts or just weren't active for a long time, who are starting to pop back up and kind of interact more. So I suspect something is going on in that realm. I will say, and I read the email 100 times to make sure I'm not giving anything up here, because very well may not be related. If anyone remembers or follows the Red Storm Twitter account, a few weeks ago, or maybe even been a month or two ago now, they tweeted out an application to do remote playtesting. So what I will say is that I and probably a bunch of other people did get an email recently proposing a couple times to playtest something. Now, obviously, I have some super high hopes that it's something directly related to what I really care about. But what needs to be really clearly stated is that one, this email doesn't suggest at all what you're going to be playtesting. And two, like, obviously, I hope it's something Division related. It surely can't be anything Division 3 related, because at the earliest that would be coming in 2022. And while I'm sure they do have some like relatively playable builds if they're actually working on it, there's probably something that they are touching right now, but there's no way it's something where they would want to show people yet. So it could be anything. I don't know. Maybe it's going to be something for a Division 2 update. Maybe it's something Rainbow Six related or Ghost Recon related, or I don't know. It could even be something with freaking the Rapids. I don't know. So what I will say is that it's at least interesting that they are sending out emails and looking for people to playtest something. Now, let me be clear as well. No matter what it is, if I get selected to do it next week or whenever it is, I can't remember exactly, it's almost certainly going to be super duper NDA'd, and I probably won't even be mentioning this again. So just keep that in mind as well. But hey, maybe it's related, maybe it's not. We will have to wait and see. I didn't spot, and I didn't really actually go out and looking for any questions this week, and I'll explain why here in a moment. So, I got COVID-19, and I figured I would talk a bit about that whole experience. So, what's kind of funny is a week ago, I posted, I remember saying like, hey, I'm not going to do an episode of the podcast this week. I'm not feeling great. There's nothing to talk about, whatever. And in hindsight, what that eventually turned into was me not feeling very good at all on Wednesday and Thursday, and continuing not to on Friday. And then being confirmed on Friday that I actually did have COVID. At the same time, unfortunately, the wife also started showing symptoms, and on a couple of days later got confirmed herself. So I record this podcast in the middle of my quarantine. It was interesting. So I even made, if you follow me on Twitter, you'll potentially remember that I made a post like, man, before this year, I would have never thought losing my sense of smell would be worrying. And sure enough, at the moment, I didn't really realize what I was kind of confirming before I even knew it, with getting the COVID-19. And so that experience has been interesting. I will say that, you know, at this point, I'm not back 100%, but I am feeling a lot better. The wife actually got much worse version of it, but she's doing better as well. The baby's fine. She, knock on wood, hasn't shown any symptoms other than like a low-grade fever. But she's very young. She's not even 2 yet. So, you know, they aren't supposed to really show many symptoms, and she has no other health issues. Not to say that it was a walk in the park. My experience was, even to this day, I've completely lost my sense of taste and smell. I can't taste or smell anything. It's taste. I'm starting to get itty bitty hints of like sweetness and saltiness back, but it's literally like 5%. Like I can just barely catch a hint. Smell is nothing. I literally, I've been jokingly like putting deodorant under my nose, or smelling like various things like hot sauces and stuff to see if I can even get just a hint of scent, and I just can't. There's just nothing there. It's bizarre. And then just body aches. I've been, you know, basically my back from my neck to my bottom are just is completely wrecked. It's really weird. It feels like I worked out super duper hard yesterday, and it's felt like that every day for last week. Just a whole body soreness. Bay Diesel got it a lot worse. She got the fever and miserableness, and she just got whacked with it really bad, and she was basically in bed for a couple days, where I was never quite that bad. We both got really mild cases of it, but after having it now, I can totally see why people, especially with pre-existing conditions, could be in a lot of danger. It was really scary. I didn't have any of the breathing issues. I thought I did a few times, but I think it was just other stuff in my own mind. Neither did Bay Diesel, but I can absolutely see why, either a worse version of it, or there's a really good chance we don't really know how we got it. I don't really go anywhere, and I haven't for this whole time, where I'm around people for more than a couple minutes at a time. The wife is a teacher, and she spends a little bit more time out of the house. So we're assuming that she must have been around someone, but they do know, or at least from what I've seen, that it has a lot to do with like viral load. And, if you're around someone for hours or days that has it, then you're probably going to get sicker than if you're around someone for 15, 20, 30 minutes, and you may just catch a small dose of it. That's what I assume happened. I don't really know though. We haven't been able, no one's notified us like, oh, hey, you probably got it from me. I had it, blah, blah, blah. So, the way I'll kind of wrap this show up, which is a significantly shorter show than normal, because there's not a whole lot that I looked into talking about other than what I already did, and I'm just kind of tired still. But I will just leave you with, please take this seriously. I know the vaccines are starting to roll out. I'm still planning on being safe, even though I'm technically going to be immune for at least a few months. I'm still waiting for the vaccine to get really, back to normal, quote unquote. And even then, I'm sure I'm probably going to wear a mask for a while just to be respectful and safe. But do please try to take this at least somewhat seriously. I mean, even if you don't die from it, it's rough. Even if you get it and you recover a week or two later and you're back to normal, it's still a rough week or two. It was, even for me who didn't get it that bad. It's worse than any flu or cold or strep or anything I've ever had. And those things all suck. And this was worse. And it was probably the most minor version of it you can get. So you don't want it. So if you think it's just like I'll be fine, like I'll just go ahead and get it, you don't want it. I promise. It was a nightmare. It was awful. And then being secluded to our houses because we're being responsible, that as well. So you definitely don't want to be giving this to, I have a family member who's an organ donor, recipient, who is immunocompromised, and this could kill her easily. And then just other people in our family who are elderly or, have other issues. You don't want this, and you definitely don't want to be the reason someone else got it. So that's my bit of advice to wrap up this show. So, yeah. So we're going to wrap it up on that note. I appreciate you listening. I am Bon Diesel on Twitch, where I try to stream a few times a week. That should start up again here in a few days. You can check me out on Twitter at Bon Diesel or at The EchoCast. If you want some cool EchoCast or Bon Diesel merch, check out designbyhumans.com/shop/Bon Diesel. That's all I have. So until next time.